Hey everybody, I want to put together a little video series and I'm pretty much going to call it Intro to Financial Advice. And basically, I figured I'd put together a video on things that I did in my life that led to financial success. Because it seems like everybody's digging and scratching around trying to figure out a way to, make some kind of traction to get ahead. And just in a world like today where it just seems like nothing's working out, and there's a lot of people on the internet talking about, hey, blah, 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 and you can do all this, but it's really hard to take advice from a billionaire because, truth be told, anybody watching this, and even me, we're not going to be billionaires. I mean, there might be one, but it just is what it is. But for the rest of us, I guess you would say bottom feeders, we're out here, kicking dust and turning rocks to, figure out how to make a dollar down here on our level. So like I said, in this part series, like I said, this be the introduction. We're just going to say, you know, what roads there are to, have financial success to, get to, where you think you want to be or why what you're doing is maybe not working out. So, like I said, I'll put together a little series and I'll say we'll hit them one by one. So, the first part in this series, we're going to start off with, I call it your situation. Now, the first step to actually doing something with your life or becoming something is just evaluating your situation. And if you're unhappy with your situation or you're frustrated with it, believe it or not, that's kind of a good thing. Because if you wasn't upset or didn't have the gumption to just be like, I want more than this in life, then of course you would never do anything. No matter what you do or you don't do, pretty much you're not going to make any traction without what's called cash flow. So, in the past, what I've done with a lot of people that worked with me and people that I gave advice to is, the first step is you got to figure out what your monthly expenses are. Now, I know a lot of people are like, okay, I got my house payment or my car payment or whatever, but that we need a little more intel than that. Basically, what you need to do is you need to get a piece of paper and you need to write down every expense you have for a month. I mean everything. Get you just a piece of computer paper and you start on one side and you start with, okay, I got my house payment. You start with like permanent expenses, minor expenses, and then just other random expenses. So that being said, you'd start off with, if you got rent or a car payment or whatever, and then you want to list your food. Every time you go buy something, write it down. And then, the goal is at the end of the month, you sit down and you really start to break down, okay, well, this is how much we spent here. This is how much we spent on food. This is how much I spent on this other stuff. And then the basis of this is to try to identify a cash flow. Now, the plan would be after you went a month and you wrote down all your expenses and really got a tally on what you were spending, you know, at that point, you could start looking at ways to, curve some waste. Like if you was spending a lot of money on, tobacco products, maybe you could go somewhere and buy it in bulk and get, if I don't know, I guess a lot of people don't smoke cigarettes anymore, but if you smoke 100 packs in a month or whatever, how can we get 100 packs of cigarettes cheaper? Maybe we could stop smoking, but I know that's a big step. But other things like that. I mean, most of the time you're not gonna change your fuel rate. You can cut your food costs down. How many times a month are you going out to eat? In the day's time, it seems like food's so expensive. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, I go out to eat a lot, but it's not like crazy places. A lot of times I'll eat lunch at a Mexican place for like 10 or $11. A lot of times I just go to Bojangles. If you eat at moderate places, you can go out to eat about as cheap as you can make something to eat. But the first step in, really defining your financial situation is you got to get a piece of paper. You got to know, where your money's going. Um, you know, if you can't, anything in life that you can't measure, if you can't measure it, if you can't add it up, you don't know if you're making progress. If you're moving forward, you're moving back. But that's the first step. And the second step is, you also need, to do another piece of paper where, you almost need to do a time analysis sheet. And basically what that's just as simple as, okay, let's say you're working 5 days a week. All right, we're working 5 days a week, so 8 hours a day. So you write that down on your paper. Well, what are you doing with all this extra time? It's 24 hours in a day. Okay, I'm gonna tell you, me personally, I only sleep about maybe 7 hours a day. So I got 21 hours. Now, I get up and get ready and do some other things and whatever, but most of the time between family and work and whatever, I got 20 hours a day. So, and for me, I don't, today's Sunday, it's raining, and I'm happen to be making this video. But normally for me, I've got a piece of equipment that broke or something I'm working on or something I'm trying to fix and make better. But, for me in my situation, I could say between family and work, I got 140 hours a week to mess with. That being, or well, that wouldn't be right, actually, but 7 from that would be 17. But anyway, so, I got like 17 hours a day times 7 a week that I could, have to put forth effort on stuff. That's the first thing you need to dig into. How much extra time do you have? Once you start seeing how much extra time you have, the next part after that is, and this is a tough subject, could you get a second job? Now, my next little piece that I'm going to do a history of my life and, the places that I worked at. But, in today's time, you're not going to get ahead working one job anymore. It just is what it is. In the 80s, everybody had one job. You got your one job, you go to work, you go home, that was cool, But nowadays, you're not going to get ahead unless you got two jobs or you have an amazing one job. But realistically, even if you do have a pretty good one job, you probably could get you a second job. Now, the second job, doesn't have to be something forever, but basically, this second job, the idea behind it is that you need to help you establish, a little bit of a nest egg of savings. Whatever you do financially, it's going to take what I call a push. And the push is going to take a savings. I don't think there's probably been very many times in history that somebody was sitting in their house or in their apartment and their neighbor, or they were sitting in their apartment broke and their neighbor next door was broke and they knocked on their door and was like, "Hey man, you want to come work for me? I'm going to start a business." I mean, I would say the odds is like less than an asteroid hitting your house or something. But that being said, whatever you're going to do that's going to bring you financial greatness, it's going to start with a push. And this push is going to have to be some formable chunk of money. Like I said, going back, if you're unhappy with your situation, you're going to have to make some changes. You're not going to continue doing the same thing and just magically something's going to loosen up and, oh man, now we're making money and we're doing this now. No, it's not going to happen like that. So, wrap up of this second part is your situation. You need to make what's called a cash flow sheet. You go through and write down all the money that you're spending on stuff. And then when you get to the bottom of that, get your amount, tally it up, start figuring out where you can save money at and see how much money you got left, And then once you did it for the first month, you do it for the second month, and then hopefully you will have saved some money and that'll start generating some positive cash flow. Cash flow can be a lot of different things depending on what level you're at. Somebody that's only making, $2,000 a month, cash flow is going to be probably very minimal. It's going to take a while to get, some traction. It doesn't take very much spending to burn through $2,000. That being said, somebody with $2,000 a month income is probably not going to have a high cash flow versus somebody that maybe has $10,000 a month. If you're making $10,000 a month, if you have, $7,000, that'd be expensive. If you had $6,000 in like total monthly expenses and you had 4,000 left over, you can still do a good bit with $4,000 of extra splurge money. That being said, it's just a whole different market of, what can happen. But we'll end this first part on the cash flow, the spreadsheet, and keeping track with that. So, thank you. So the next part of this is I wanted to, and a lot of this is going to be probably sound completely unbelievable, but it's all true to a T. I was going to give you, the history on me, how have I done what I did, and I'll try to include some pictures. I'm sure as time goes on, I'll do a lot more videos and tell some crazy stories about from years of being in business. And some of you may ask, well, how old are you? I'm actually 36 years old. I'll be 37 this year. But but here's the history. So to kind of lead up to where I did. So obviously I was born. So so when I was born, I was raised by my mom, and my mom was actually a mail lady, and obviously I had a dad, and like most marriages, kind of crash and burned. So I was raised by my mom, and I had a couple stepdads. Each stepdad that I had kind of, I guess, was a different piece of the puzzle. You could somewhat say that I was raised by a group of men, really, because I had my dad, I had a couple stepdads, and then as time went on, I had people in my life that, I worked for and, just, I guess, gave me the pieces of the puzzle that I just didn't get just from having, I guess, a regular dad. But anyway, so I was born, did all that. When I was 16 years old, I'll never forget, it was my birthday, and I was at school, and I came home from school, and my mom, it's my birthday, what are we getting, And I'll never forget, my mom was like, I'm taking you to get a job. I was like, what? I mean, the day that I turned 16, my mom took me to get a job. And I'll never forget, so where we lived, there was a Domino's in town. And I don't even know how the hell we ended up. It was literally the first place we went to. So there was a Domino's in my town, and we went there, and we pull up. My mom had to about just pull me out of the car. I mean, we walk in. My mom's like, "Yeah, I'm trying to get a job for my son," and I'm just like standing just there 10 feet behind her. She's like, and so the manager, his name was Mark White, and my mom's like, "Yeah, my son needs a job. He'll work. I'll make sure he works. I'll make sure he gets here." And I'm just like, I didn't know what to think. I mean, this was the worst damn birthday ever. So my first job was at Domino's, and so that's how it started. So I'm in high school, I'm working at Domino's. Speed forward, I worked at Domino's my whole career through high school. Speaking of that, even I'd get out of high school and I'd go work all night at Domino's, really, sometimes to 10 o'clock at night, and then go to school the next day. I only went to high school for 3.5 years. I had enough credits to graduate early, so halfway through my senior year, I was done. I did go back and walk with my class, but just I was out. So when I graduated early, I had an uncle that worked for a company in Charlotte, and it was a textile company, not like a mill, but we sold parts to the textile industry. And so he got me on there, and that was my first real job I ever had. And something interesting about this job. I don't know if y'all ever had a job where you got paid once a month. So, it was kind of funny working at a job where you get paid once a month because when you work somewhere, there's usually only like the only enjoyable things are lunch break and when you get paid. And getting paid only came 12 days a year. It was like, it was definitely a surreal thing. I mean, you had to learn how to manage your expenses. So, but that being said, so I got a job there. I actually still worked at Domino's, and the Domino's franchise that I worked for, they owned a bunch of them, and his name was Mac Patterson, and his sons run it now, but there was other locations. So there was actually a Domino's in Charlotte near my work. So I'd get off work and then traffic would be beyond effed because everybody works 8 to 5. So like everybody sits in traffic going to work, and then everybody gets off at 5 to get screwed sitting in traffic. So I was like, instead of just sitting in traffic, I'm just gonna go work at Domino's a couple hours till the traffic goes down. So that's what I did. I went and worked at the Domino's in Charlotte, and I'd work like just 3 or 4 hours. The main thing is, so I worked at Domino's, I got fed. We always made something to eat. And then, I wasn't wasting my time sitting in traffic. I was making some money, and then when I got off work, there was no traffic. I just cruise on home. So I did that for a while. As time went on, I had another. Believe it or not, my boss at Domino's, his name was Mark. He had a brother named Jason. Jason was I guess you'd say he was a superintendent at a metal place, and I had known him for a long time, and he was like, man, you need to come over here. So it took me a while, but I made the jump. So I went to go work at Alro. So now at this time, still worked at Domino's. Not a whole lot, but I still work there. Alro was also in Charlotte. Um, so I worked at Domino's, worked at Alro, and for a short period of time, I actually did taxes for H&R Block. And I didn't do the taxes very long. Decided I didn't want to do that. But anyway, so after working at Alro for a while, eventually, so Alro had 3 shifts, first, second, third. And I was lucky. I was on first shift, which is pretty much where everybody wants to be. And third shift was like really struggling. Jason came to me. He's like, "What would you think about going to third shift for a while?" And I was really kind of against it, but I was kind of intrigued by it. If you work third shift, you don't ever have to take a day off to go do something. I mean, if you need to go to the doctor, the DMV, whatever, you just go to it during the day, and then then you still can go to work, so you don't ever miss any time. So I started working third shift, and well, actually, I need to back up. I need to back up a little bit. So while I was on first shift, I had a buddy there named Timmy, and Timmy had like the smallest little yard you'd ever imagine. And so what we would do is we would always carpool. So I would drive to his house and pick him up, and for like one week he would drive to work, and then the next week I would drive to work, and it worked out good because one of us would just sleep on the way to work, which it wasn't real far, but it was still better than driving by yourself, and we saving money. So one day we were on our way home, and Timmy goes, "Man, I got to cut the damn grass today." And I'm telling you, Timmy had like the smallest yard you ever seen, and it was in a little neighborhood, and he was like, "Man, I'll give you $10 to cut my grass, to cut my front yard." And I was like, "Okay, I'm in." So we got home that day, and I cut his front yard with his push mower, and now at the time we wasn't making but like $14 an hour. So I cut his front yard for $10. And, this went on. I did it for like 2 or 3, usually I only cut it like every 2 weeks. So about the second or third time I done it, the neighbor beside was like, "Hey, can you cut my grass?" And I was like, "Okay." So at this point I'm cutting like, Timmy's, the next one. And then by God, like a little bit, another week or the next cycle through, the next neighbor asked me, he's like, "Can you cut my grass?" And I was like, "Okay." So now I'm still using Timmy's mower. And now these other ones, I had told them 20, so it was making like $50 a pop. And I'm still using Timmy's mower. Well, Timmy's wife was like, "Why are we paying Adam $10 to cut our grass if he uses our mower to cut the neighbors' yards?" And I mean, we was really young, so I mean, I hadn't even really thought about it. And so Timmy said something to me. I was like, "Yeah, Timmy." I was like, "You're right." I was like, "I'll go buy a mower." And so kept it going. So like at the time, I just had just a couple yards, and I really wasn't even trying to be in business. It just kind of happened. Um, and then come the part where they asked me to go to the third shift. So I went to third shift, and so then I had more time. Well, a couple years go by, and keep picking up, keep picking up, keep picking up. Well, I obviously once I started kind of cutting grass and getting heavier, I had to leave Domino's. I had already quit doing taxes, so at this point I was just mowing grass and working third shift. Well, and this is going to, now, mind you, at this time, I wasn't married yet. And, of course, I didn't have no kids or anything of that nature. But, so I started advertising in Charlotte. So, as anything with progression, I had a push mower, but I already had a truck. So then I got a trailer and I got a riding mower and then a better riding mower and more stuff and picked up more customers. I started advertising in Charlotte, mowing grass near where I work. So it worked out pretty good because I worked third shift, so I'd go to work at night. And so I would be on my way to work in Charlotte. Well, I started making signs. And they were pretty rough looking. I would show you one, but they were pretty rough looking. But they were cheap, and I could make a lot of them cheap, and I'd make them in my spare time. And so at night, what I would do is I had a ladder in my Honda, and I'd pull up to an intersection that had a good telephone pole, and I would climb up that ladder and I'd nail that telephone pole as high as I could up on it. That way, nobody could jerk it down. And of course, I was doing it at night on my way to work. So, I mean, there was nobody out, wasn't dangerous, and I was going to work anyway. So, I got up to about I got up to about 60 customers. And now, mind you, I'm cutting these by myself. Like, I mean, it was pretty rough. Sometimes I would go to work at night, work third shift, and I would mow grass all day. And by the time I got done cutting grass, let's say I already knew it was going to rain that week, so I was already like trying to beat the yards down early. I had a sleeping bag in my locker at our because we had locker rooms and there were showers and everything. So I would mow grass all day, and then I just wouldn't have enough time really to go back home, which because I lived about almost an hour away, 45 minutes. I didn't really have enough time to go back home and then come back. So I just go back to Alro, and obviously it would be second shift at that point, and I'd just go park my truck, go take a shower. I'd sleep in my sleeping bag until third shift started. Now, obviously that's kind of extreme, but I mean at the time, I was making it happen. Um, I worked at Alro for I always get it mixed up. I feel like I worked there almost 4 years. Never got hurt, thank goodness. I've seen a lot of people get hurt there running cranes and whatever. Not because of anything about the place, just, I always had a saying that dumb stuff happened to dumb people. And, just a lot of people just, I guess, just lack normal physics as far as, you know, having a way out or trying to pick up crazy stuff and it tipping on them. But anyway, so I worked there about 3 or 4 years, and it just really got to the point where I just couldn't hardly keep going on. I think I had gotten up to about 100 yards, and I had some people helping me. Well, I had one guy that was helping me, and it was to the point where like I would I would work third shift, sometimes the way it would have to go down is my guy would take me to work. I would work all night. I'd get off in the morning. He'd meet me there with the grass truck, pick me up. We'd go mow grass all day. And then maybe we would go home, or, he would drop me back off at my job, and then he would take the truck back and park it and put all the equipment up. And like I said, I done that for a while, and it just got to the point where I was like, and we was making crazy money, and I was just like, I just can't. I was afraid to walk away because I was making like 40,000 a year there, and nowadays $40,000 is nothing. But at the time, that was a big chunk, and to walk away from that for the money that was coming in, that was going to be a big hit. Now, mind you, before when I first started working an hour, like I said, I worked there 3 to 4 years. I had lived with my mom. I lived with my mom for a while, and she had bought a house. I had helped her buy it, and which was kind of weird because then later on she got married, and my stepdad moved in, and it was like, well, that like basically they kind of wanted me to leave, but I mean I was like, well, hell, I helped put the money down to get us here. You wasn't even here, but that's a whole story in itself. But so in the process of working at Hour, I bought a house. I actually never rented. I went straight. Well, I didn't buy a house. I financed a house, and I bought a house, and it was $95,000. And at the time, I really thought I would live there the rest of my life. I did. I mean, it just $95,000 just seemed like a huge amount. I didn't. We talked about the cash flow sheet and stuff in the beginning, and I didn't make a lot, but I didn't want to rent, and so, but pulled the pieces together, had good credit, and financed a house. So, I already had my house, but speed back forward. Like I said, I couldn't keep on doing the grass thing and working, and they had a point system at work, which a lot of people that have jobs, they probably experience with the point system. And basically, I pointed out, I was never late to work. I mean, I was either there or I wasn't there. And I mean, if I was there, I gave 110%. Never fell asleep or, anything stupid. But when the time came and I had to leave, and, you know, I would say if money didn't matter, and, I guess we lived in like some communist place or whatever where everybody got the same check, I probably wouldn't mind going back. I kind of enjoyed it. It was pretty fun what we did, especially the guys I worked with, which a lot of them moved on to other metal places, and so so after I left there, I continued to grow the grass business. The grass business, it just took off like fire. I mean, at one point, the height of the grass business, I think I got up to about 300 customers, and I had one neighborhood I had about 100 in, and it was pretty action packed. There was at one time I had two trucks running, and at least one truck ran 7 days a week. Now a lot of people are like, well, how did work 7 days a week? Well, what would end up happening is I had like 5 or 6 guys that worked for me, and throughout the week there was always one or two that would lay out, and then by the weekend they was needing to make some money. So I would, on a Saturday or Sunday, I would send them out trimming bushes or something. But for years, that's pretty much how it went. Um, the grass business, the full stride of the grass business, it lasted for about 10 years. Now, I mean, to go 10 years and keep the grass business going full speed, we was making a lot of money. During the time of this grass business, all this money we was making, I was pretty suave. I was saving and putting more money into equipment to grow it. And this was about the time that people started flipping houses. And I didn't even really, just like the grass business started, I didn't realize I was getting into something big. Um, So over the years, me and my wife, which I had got married over during that period, after I had left Alro and some more time went by, um, so me and my wife, we had ended up acquiring a bunch of rental houses. Now, mind you, these houses I bought, it was in a different time. A lot of these houses, they were like, 20,000, 30,000, which sounds crazy. I mean, I have a lot of houses that I bought for $30,000. They already had a renter in them, and they needed some repairs, but I mean, they were just out the gate making money. That's before, the same houses now you could probably spend $100,000 for and still have to put some money into it. So all this money was making from the grass. I started another company and started, purchasing all these rental houses. And then, going through that. In the process of all this, I always had a heart to want to do grading, which if you'll see some of my other videos, that's pretty much what I do now, is like grading, drainage, and clearing. But that was always where my heart wanted to be. I mean, we made a lot of money mowing grass, but I just always felt like, it's not what I wanted to really do. And it was I knew I had a lot of the concepts down for grading and stuff of that nature, but everybody just always felt like because I was a grass guy and this grass company that I didn't know nothing about grading. So I started off. I went and bought me a skid steer and I went and bought me an excavator. And I'll tag pictures of some of this stuff and let you see. I have to dig. I could probably have like 10,000 pictures from all the years of being in business, but none of it's really organized. I have to go through and scroll through till I find pictures. But so we ran a grass business and we bought houses and kind of started to expand into grading. Well, towards about 2017, 2018, 2019, my mom had came down real bad with cancer, and she had went through it and went through the remission and came back, and 2020 rolled around, and my mom was doing really bad, and I had done pretty much I think at this point I had the grass business. I had carried the torch for about 11 years, and I just was done with it. I had another buddy that had a grass business, and I worked a deal out with him, and I sold him 200 yards. Just sold them to him, and stayed on with him. I helped him do the paperwork and make sure it was an easy transition. We did it pretty smooth. He took over the route, and I kept all the paperwork and the billing the same for a little while, and so he would mow the grass. They'd mail me the money. I'd write him a check. So that went on for a little while until we got to the point where we kind of started to changing the things. Like we changed the mail to address, or the billing address. So then they started sending the checks to him, and we would trade out. And then we just basically did like a name change. And then eventually, as time went on, some of them started to be like, "Hey, you're not that guy," and they'd call me, and I'd kind of smooth things out. But anyway, so we sold about 200 yards, and I kept 100. My mom ended up passing away in that year of 2020, and the other 100 yards I kept, which part of the 100 yards I called it my local route. I had the guys, they would cut the rental houses and take care of that, and it worked off good. Bebopped around for that for another year or two, and at this point I really was pushing harder into the grading. I bought some more equipment. We was doing bigger jobs. It was advertising, going through all that route. And so the last 100 yards, I had another buddy that I had grew up with, and he was kind of in the same situation I guess a lot of people would be in. That reason I'm making this video. And he was probably like my first best friend. And I ended up working a deal out with him. I gave him the last of the yards and just all the equipment. So it worked out pretty good for him. And he's, believe it or not, still, kicking it and growing it. And he's picked up more contracts, and quite proud of him. So that was pretty much the end of the grass business. And it's kind of weird. At one time, I think I had like 6 mowers. I mean, if any of you know anything about like Toro grandstands, they're pretty expensive for what they are. And I mean, I had a fleet of Toro grandstands, and to this point now, I live on 10 acres, and I don't even own a mower. I got a bush hog, but my buddy Justin, that's the guy I sold the business to. He actually cuts the grass here at my house for me, so it worked out pretty good. Um, so in a wrap up of this history of me, like I said, started off I was born, obviously, but the only other part that I did leave out in this little spell is so I had I worked a job. I started the grass business. The grass business was making money. I took that money. I started putting it into buying rental houses. Kind of started to go into the grading aspect. Um, once once property values really started to like just fucking get crazy up there, um, it got to the point where we just couldn't buy any more rental houses. I mean, this is this sounds true. This sounds like really awful, but I hit people with this one all the time. People talk about like, oh, I'm gonna make an investment, blah blah blah, and there are long term investments, but we could I could go get me 10 credit cards today. I could call up or go on the internet and apply for 10 credit cards, and I got pretty good credit. So let's say I got $10,000 limits on 10 credit cards. So we're talking $100,000 worth of credit. I could go max out all them credit cards. Now I don't know if you can. Usually they got like a different limit of how much cash you can pull out, but I could go max out all them credit cards and not pay a single dollar back. And in 7 years, my credit will balance out. Now, where I'm going with this is, I say that the rental houses they got too expensive. The market had went up too high. If you have an investment and it takes more than 7 years to balance out or get your money back, that's not an investment. I mean, you could call it a long-term investment if that helps you have a warm fuzzy feeling, but we could go get credit cards and max them out and default, and in 7 years we'll get our credit back. If you make an investment and it takes more than 7 years to get your money back, I would say the credit card idea is a horrible idea. Well, so would be that investment road that it's going to take more than 7 years to get your money back. But most of these rental houses that I bought, I had pegged them somewhere around. My goal at the time was I was trying to make like at least 25% return. So, if you got a 20% return every 5 years, you make your money back now. Now, obviously, taxes and insurance has skyrocketed too, so that really kind of, over time's kind of eroded away some of them. But the last thing I was going to say is, once house prices got too high and we couldn't afford to, we could buy them, it's just there wasn't going to be an investment again. I had another buddy of mine who had an idea. It was like he had always wanted a campground. So like I said, we had the grass business, we sold it, had the grading company, got them rental houses. So the next road that I opened up is we built a campground, and I'll put some pictures of it. So the main takeaway, I guess, from this series, for this part of it is, this is the history, and I'm really breaking down what I call streams of income. So my streams of income was I had a job, I started mowing, I had a job, I had a second job, I had a third job, I started a business, I got rid of 2 of them jobs, so we're back to 2. I ended up, once things got too difficult and I couldn't continue working at the job, I had to leave the job, made more money, added another stream of income, started buying rental houses, still mowing grass. A little more time went, started grading, so we kind of got 3 streams of income. You could kind of say the grading and the grass went together. Like I said, my mom passed away. I was pretty much done with the grass. Because it took up so much of my time coordinating and all. It's a lot of paperwork. You mow 300 yards a week, you're going to be sitting at a computer an hour a day doing some paperwork, trying to keep everything situated. So I got rid of the grass business. So then we was just doing grading, rental houses, and then, like I said, the campground. So we was back to three roads of income. So we'll I guess that'll be enough for this part. Next part is we'll talk about where to take your situation and move it to the next step. All right, so I guess the next part to this whole series, that I gave you the history of me in the last video. So now we're going to go back to you. So what the fuck are you going to do? So basically, here's our roads here. How are you making money? So right now, most of you probably have a job. So let's talk about how money's made. So money comes from people that work, okay? People that have businesses, they make money. People that have investments, they make money. We'll put lottery. LTTR. Very small minute, but we'll just put it in here. The lottery. Lottery's probably not going to be you. It's not going to be me. I swear I have a theory that people that win the lottery, there's just something else in there. I mean, like, I don't know. Like it's planned. I don't know. It just doesn't really make sense. People that win the lottery, you never really hear about them again. I mean, whatever. So like I said, right now, as we started in the beginning of this, you're probably not happy with your situation. That's okay. Accepting that you're not happy with your situation is the first step to change something. We talked about you needed to get a sheet together and, write down all your expenses to figure out your cash flow. If you don't have enough cash flow, you're not going to be able to establish a savings. If you're not able to establish a savings, you're not going to be able to start something to make a push to change your life. I gave you the story on how I had multiple jobs. You're not gonna change the situation unless you just change your fucking situation. It's probably not gonna be. It's not gonna be what you like, but on the back end, you'll won't even think twice about it. You would do it again. The first thing you need to do, and as hard as it sounds, you're gonna have to go get your ass a second job. You just need a second job. A lot of you are like, well, I don't have time to get a second. You got time to get a second job. Everybody's got room for another. Everywhere's hiring. It might not be the job that you want, but you're gonna have to get a second job. If you get a second job and you hate your second job, it'll be that much more inspiration to start a business or do something that's different. It's going to make money. When I worked at Alro, I'll never forget. I would be laying in my sleeping bag, and I would just be laying there trying to go to sleep, and it'd be kind of loud because they'd have them cranes going across the building, and I'd be like, God, please grow this grass business so I can get the hell out of here. I'm tired of doing this. Which I could have probably left sooner than I did. I just didn't. I was just scared. I didn't. It was going to be a big lapse in income, which I didn't have any major bills or anything other than my house payment. But, growing up, I was poor. I didn't want to go back to being poor. So like I said, you got a job now. You need to get you a second job. When you get that second job, that's going to put you at the point where you're going to improve your cash flow to really start a savings. No matter how this road ends up going, the other roads to make money, I got business and investments. You're going to have to start a business. You ain't never going to get where you want to be by working for somebody at a regular company. I'm not saying you can't make some really good money. Some of you might get a college degree and rise up, through the ranks. If you want to make $200,000 a year, you're gonna have to have a business. You can make $100,000 a year, got a job somewhere. I know people that's got really good positions at companies, and they're like, man, they think they're the fucking cat's meow. They're making $120,000 a year. I'm happy for them. They get that fucking W-2. Uncle Sam puts the beat down on them. They're got their 70 left. But they're everybody thinks they're the cream of the crop or whatever. At the end of the day, if you want to get ahead, you got to have a business. So a lot of you are like, well, what kind of business could I start? And it's kind of hard for me because I'm a guy, so I don't know businesses that would be great for women. My wife she doesn't anymore, but she used to throw out all the time, we could, start like a little ice cream place or something. So here's the thing about working. So if you already got a job, you're at a place, you go in there, you scoot, you do your job, you get paid, and you go home. There's a difference between owning a business and owning a job. Now, what's the difference between owning a business and owning a job? If you're in the grass business, you own a job. And I say that because you can have 100 grass customers. You're not going to take 2 weeks off. Oh, well, maybe you could take 2 weeks off, but you're not going to take a month off. You're not going to be like, you know what? I'm just really sick with shit. I'm gonna go to the beach. And when you come back, there won't be nothing to come back to. I don't care if you've been mowing Miss Maybell's yard for 10 years. You'll find out real quick. Miss Maybell done hired a guy down the street. She sent you last payment with a thank you letter for all them years. Like I said, same thing. Like if you got an ice cream business, anybody with a little bit of a nest egg. Let's say you got $20,000. Let's say I bet $10,000. You could go find some little crappy strip mall somewhere that's got a vacancy. You could get you a rented, get you a booth, call Hershey's ice cream up, say, yep, get me some buckets of ice cream down here. I'm going to start scooping. You're just going to waste your fucking time. You're going to be in there scooping ice cream, you're going to be working crazy hours. You're going to be there every time the light's open because you ain't going to be making enough money you can hire somebody. I mean, now, obviously, there's an exception. There's some people that's got a really good location, and they might make $1 million a year scooping ice cream, and I'm happy for them. But the truth is, it's not going to work out for me. It's probably not going to work out for you. If it did work out for you, or your grandma or your cousin done that, I'm happy for them, and I'm glad I'm wrong. But for the rest of us, it's just not going to work out. That is pretty much owning a job. Unless you somehow grew up big enough that you could hire a bunch of people. And then you're probably not going to be able to pay a whole lot because you're just scooping ice cream. So you're going to end up hiring a bunch of kids, and they're not going to like their job either. So every time one of them calls out, you're going to be in a pickle. And so you ain't going to be able to plan nothing. You've got to run down there and scoop some damn ice cream. So, like I said, there's a difference between owning a business and owning a job. I had wrote down some business ideas that I had, just as ideas. It's not as common, I guess, around here, but it used to be a bigger thing. A lot of people used to go around washing windows. I know it sounds crazy, washing windows. Well, you don't need a whole lot of stuff to wash windows. You need a squeegee, a bucket, you got your little mop thing. Most people wash windows with ammonia. My mom actually had a little window washing business when I was little. I never remember why she stopped doing it, but of course I told you my story. I mowed grass. Mowing grass, you can make a whole lot of money, but mowing grass might not be for everybody. And I say that because you got to have a lot of equipment. It's big investment. Another business model that's pretty good. Tinting windows. You don't need a whole lot of stuff to tint windows. You can go on the internet, do some research, watch a bunch of videos on people tinting windows, how to take the panels off and do all that. That's a pretty lucrative business. So just recently, I was telling somebody the other day, obviously I do not have the time to start another business, but if I was going to start another business, so I have a really nice boat, and I took my boat out in the ocean, and it had been a year, so it was time to service it. So I needed to change the oil, change the fuel. So change the oil, change the oil filter, the fuel filter, and because I took it out in the ocean, I really wanted to change the water pump and stuff in the lower drive, and they have what they call the lower drive oil. So I called up my good old Happy Marine Max down the street. And this is a good bash video, so I mean, if you're listening, Marine Max suck it. But I'll be doing another video on that one. I'll show my boat. But so I call up Marine Max, and my boat's got 2 engines. Now, mind you, on the door it says hourly rate, $170 or some shit. So to get both motors fully serviced, change the oil, change the fuel, lower drive, change that water pump. And when I say change the water pump, it's really just like this little rubber thing. I mean, if you seen it laying on the ground, you'd think it was like a little squid or something. I mean, you can buy it for like $10. They told me $2,800, $2,800 to service 2 boat engines, brand new boat engines, to service them 2 boat engines. Now their hourly rate on the damn door is like $170. So, I mean, you see this face? This face gets punched in the nose, like, all the time. And, like I said, I mean, I told him, I said, you know, and then so I'll go down there. They're not busy. Ain't got nothing. They even told me this. Yeah, we've been really slow. And then told me $2,800 to service them 2 boat engines. I said maybe 2. I mean, I really don't have time. I might pay $2,000 to service both of them, but I'm not gonna pay $2,800. That's just beyond reasonable. So I bought all the stuff myself. I went online, watched some YouTube videos. Obviously, there wasn't an exact video for exactly my motors for how to do it, but I watched enough to kind of get an idea. I bought all the stuff for $500, and I did both. Didn't know nothing. Now, I'm not a mechanic. I'm just a parts changer. I did it all myself. It took me about 5 hours, and I got some pictures. Pulled the lower drive, put it all back together, even put the muffs on there and tested all the engines, made sure they was coming to the proper temperature and everything. It took me 5 hours to do it myself, and I spent $500 on parts. And Marine Max, this is what they do, and they charge $175 an hour. They was going to be $2,800. They said they do it in a day. I don't know what the hell. I don't know what the hell them people are thinking down there. If I was going to start another business today, I swear to you, I'd be doing boat service. I'd get me a sign. I'd be advertising like, here's your mobile boat service. We'll come out there, winterize your boat. You can research that online. Super simple. I got outboard motors now, but I used to have a Yamaha boat. I'll put some pictures of it. But I used to have a Yamaha boat, and it had some jet engines on it, but you kind of had to winterize it a little bit, which even my new boat, it's got like a bathroom in it, so I got to winterize the system kind of like you would an RV. But if I was going to start another business, I'm telling you, the boat service probably be the best business I could ever have been in. I mean, for that kind of markup, and like I said, I'm not even great. Like, done it in 5 hours, and I took my time. When you drain that lower gear oil, it takes a while for that stuff to come out. But I know we got a little off topic there, but like I said, you got a job. You're gonna have to get a second job, or you're gonna be broke. It's gonna be, you're gonna have to accept it. While you got that second job, all that hatred you got for that second job that you're just frustrated with because you don't want to go to that second job no more, you need to put that effort in trying to figure out how you're gonna start a business. You ain't gonna get to where you want to be unless you start a business. There is kind of another road. It's, you know, not everybody is meant to have a business. And there's different business models. You have what they consider like a merchandise business model, and then you have a service industry business model. I've always been impartial to the service model. You know, I got my little group of tools. I'm going to go over here and do this task for you. You're going to pay me, and then I'm going to take my little bit of shit and go back over here. You know, it's a really hard business model to have some kind of a merchandise program where you're buying up stuff, you're trying to have a little location and resell it. I mean, just with all the stuff online for sale today, I mean, you're just not going to compete. Plus, I mean, just sitting at a location all day long waiting for somebody to come by and maybe buy something, you know, it's really frustrating. The third item I had on here, so we got a job, we had a business, investments. The investments is a love-hate relationship, and I say that as crazy as it sounds, when I was in high school, I used to actually trade stocks. I had a teacher, and he kind of told us a little bit about trading stocks, and I opened a brokerage account. At the time, it was Bank of America Investment. Opened a brokerage account, and I used to trade penny stocks. And believe it or not, when I worked at Domino's, I had a laptop, and this is like before anybody was like really doing it. I had a laptop. I had a Netgear internet card in the side of that sucker, and stock market would open at 9:30. I would go to the OTC board, which was penny stocks, see which one was running up the quickest. I would buy it. By lunchtime, I would sell it. I was making like 300 or 400 bucks a pop. Then you had to wait for it to settle. I made good. I made some money trading penny stocks. And then it sounds crazy, and I really don't really understand why, but the market kind of changed, and I did that for a while. Just whichever one was running the quickest, I'd buy it up, sell it by lunch, made my little bit of money, and did really good. And the market kind of changed, and I never really got burned because I spotted the trend was changing. But and I owned other stocks as time went on. I currently don't really have anything. I got this one guy that I use through an investment place, and they got one of those 5% accounts. So pretty much all my extra money I just got in one of those 5% accounts, and that's the only investment I have. I don't own any stocks. I don't own any mutual funds. Um, Now that Trump's in the office, I guess I'm gonna say things are probably gonna be on the up and up now, but probably even myself, I probably need to go buy some stocks or some investments. But I don't know. I just always kind of felt like if like the rental houses and the grading company and the campground. I mean, like I just kind of always felt like if you couldn't go down the street and choke somebody out, you know, if you're if you buy some stocks and your stocks are going down, you can't like go down the road and pistol whip somebody and get your money out of them. I mean, like you just I don't know, and I just you see your stocks go down real big, and that was always upsetting to me. But investment stocks, mutual funds, that may be a good nest egg or cushion to move forward. I mean, obviously you have to get with somebody to help you do that. You you could make 10 or 15% a year, maybe more, on average doing that, until you got you a nest egg started. But the end result, in conclusion of this is, if you got a job and you're not where you want to be, you can't you can't fake it to make it. You're gonna have to get a second job. You get that second job, you're gonna have to start a business of some sort. If you don't start a business, you will never be where you think you want to be. Um, like I said, as soon as and basically ultimately all these are just opening up to streams of income. Your job is a stream of income. You start a business, that's a stream of income. You get you an investment. Um, Something that somebody told me a long time ago. Well, they didn't tell me. I might have heard it from Warren Buffett, which not even, Warren Buffett has made a lot of money, and, I'll never by any means have anything in retrospect to what that man could have. But believe it or not, kind of a funny story. The back in the day when Bill Gates was really starting to take off with Microsoft, Warren Buffett told me, he said, "Hey, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You need to diversify." So, that's what Bill Gates did. If Bill Gates would have just kept this majority ownership in Microsoft at the time, I think it would be worth like at the time of the peak of his what he was worth, he probably been worth like 50 times more. It was like a crazy number. I mean, he's still worth, like epic, but because he diversified it out, it could have been worth like way more. Now, I mean, you could say it went the other way. You could have been like, well, if it would have crashed, it'd have been the best damn thing ever. So, financial wisdom advice is always, kind of a slippery road. To some people it helped, to some people it hurt. To the ones that hurt, you're always like, God, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But something interesting is, wealth is not going to come from the money that you make today. I don't give a damn if you go make you $1,000 today. You can go make $10,000 a day. You go make $10,000 a day. That's cool. That's a pretty big chunk. You make $10,000 a day in a grading business. It'd be a long ass day. It'd be like a 15, 16 hour day, but you could do it. But the question really comes down to, are you making money when you sleep? So, you're making money when you go to work, and you're making money most likely at your business, but the real financial independency is going to come from, are you making money when you're sleeping? So how are you making money when you're sleeping? Like for me, my two roads is, I have the rental houses. So the rental houses is constantly, every month the rent's due. So, let's say right now I'm in the grading business predominantly. It's rained for by God, I think we've about been 2 weeks in some rain here. And when you do get a little bit of dry period, the ground's so saturated, you're not going to go out and do nothing. So, for me, the rental houses are still making money. So if I wouldn't have even got out of bed today, the rental houses are making money. The next thing, the campground. It's kind of like the rental business. We're just renting spots. The campground's making money. So if I would have died today, I could have died this morning. I would have still been making money. Those aspects in themselves, how are you going to make money when you're not working? When you go to work and you make money, what are you doing with that money? This kind of all stems back to the cash flow thing. You go to work, you got your expenses, the money you have left over, are you taking that money and putting it somewhere to make money while you're asleep or while you're working? You need to look at, investments or, trying to start a business is that's like your tag team championship partner here. You're going to work today to make, your $200, or I don't know, maybe you're big time at your job and you're making $300. But, you're going to work making your money. What's your money doing today to make you some money? Did your money make you any money? I got that 5% account thing that I do. For me, I kind of look at that as like my splurge money. If I want to go buy something, how much money did that account make today? If I'm going to go buy something stupid, as long as I stay under, what that thing made today, then maybe I shouldn't have bought that. But, it was money that I didn't sweat to make. It was just chilling over there, and it made some money. So, that's another big piece to this, is your money making money while you make money? And until you get to that point in life, you're never going to be what you want to be. Now, I don't have like Lamborghinis. I don't have a helicopter. I don't own an island. But, I've made a lot of money. And if I would have died this morning, I would have still been making money. And, the only road you're going to get you at that same situation to do what you think you want to do is, you got a job, you're probably going to have to get a second job. And that second job is going to lead to starting a business. And that business is going to lead towards, making other investments. If you look through history, you'll always have the Amazon guy, and you got the Walmart people, and you got, all these other people that, they woke up, they had an idea, and that motherfucker just took off. Well, now those obviously, them people are, they're on their plateau. Well, if you went through history and you looked at the majority of wealth, all wealth pretty much goes back to land. It's in real estate. You want to do something big, you want to be remembered and put your mark on the wall, it's going to be in real estate. Now, I'm not saying you can't start a heating and air company and, you have 50 trucks running up and down the road and you be the biggest damn thing around. And that's cool. But the real deep, I guess you would say old money, or just, just continuous wealth that's just passed from generation to generation, it's all going to be in real estate. How much land do you own? The sooner, the sooner you buy your first house, the sooner you'll buy your second house. Um, you know, that was always something that's kind of had caught my mind. So I guess that's going to conjoin this last part, like I said, about what you can do. Um, I might have a couple other pieces I might add and a couple other little segments that I might tag on the end of this, but I think that pretty much wraps up a big part of it. So I hope this was helpful, and like I said, I got a couple more things I'll add, but I thank you for stopping by.